Welcome back, fish heads, to another Waterbox Live here on Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate y'all being here.
Got some funny people back there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You can follow me and Jess on Instagram, as you can see there. We got a cool show for you guys today.
Yeah, make sure you engage in the comments because we're going to be giving away 2 Waterbox shirts. So ask questions, comments, talk to each other, make friends. That is the currency to win. We'll have one on YouTube, one on Facebook. So
yes, and if you guys didn't tune in a few weeks ago, we launched some new products, specifically the magnet cleaners and the mesh lids for the cube and all-in-one system. So be sure to check that out. Those are available everywhere.
Yes.
By the way.
Yep.
So check that out. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to our channel. We are here every single week, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. currently. So
awesome. And today's a fun day because we are adding the first coral to the INFINIA.
Yeah.
So you guys have seen the INFINIA kind of process along. We added fish a few weeks ago. Everything's cycled and stuff, so it's time to add our first coral. So we're going to talk about like picking out your first corals, do's and don'ts, that kind of stuff, and then actually add our first batch to the INFINIA.
Wonderful.
Yay, everyone loves coral, so it's a fun time, especially if it's like your first tank and it's finally ready, you got a couple fish in there and you get to go shopping for your first coral.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, but you can also, we're just looking at some rock. There you go.
So there's a look into the side of the INFINIA that we're going to take you to here in a bit. If you guys are wondering what the INFINIA is, the INFINIA is our newest reef aquarium range that we launched Blue Friday, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Blue Friday.
Yeah.
A long time ago, it feels like.
Seems like it.
So INFINIA, really cool system. They are in high demand, but we are receiving more shipments this week throughout the different markets. So if you're in the market for an INFINIA, now's the time to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, they're beautiful systems, and the brushed aluminum look has gone over extremely well. So it's different than any of our other lines. They've always been white, black, or the oak, and some of the other cabinet types. So having that brushed aluminum, really kind of sleek and modern looking, and that's the one that we have here, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So we're going to check that out here in a little bit, but we're adding some goodies.
Yes, but okay, so say it's time for you to start on your corals, your tank, you've gotten your inverts, your fish, gone through your cycle, everything's good. Just some things that you need to kind of consider when you start thinking about getting your first corals, or you're going online, or you're going to your local fish store, is first kind of do your research. If you're buying online, do your research of what each coral is, kind of what you can have. If you're going to a local fish store, somewhere that you trust, that's going to give you good advice, knows what they're doing. They have a good growing system. The tanks and everything are clean and healthy. But certain requirements are going to dictate what you can put into your tank, and especially at the beginning too. And I think the number one thing, light requirements.
Yeah.
This is going to go through no matter what step of adding corals go in, first, second, 2 years down the road. What your lights are is going to dictate what kind of corals you can keep. So, soft corals, lower light, not very demanding. Then you got your LPS, kind of middle range. But if you don't have a high output, proper intensity light, you can't do SPS and some of the stonier corals.
Right.
So, know what your light's capable of. We use, aqualumination and ecotech lightings here. So hydras, primes, and radions. And those are generally, as long as they're appropriately sized, going to be capable to grow pretty much any range of corals that you want to put in there.
Right, and if you guys aren't familiar, if you are purchasing a water box, we have pre-configured those lighting systems for them as well. So if you go, say, to an INFINIA 5-foot, you can add the lighting right there, and we've already predetermined what you're going to need for it. And if you're going with hydras or radions, probably would work. Probably hydras more for a mixed reef, would you say? Yeah,
I mean, definitely depending on the sizing and stuff. Hydras can do SPS and all that. It's, base it upon the sizing, and that's what we've done for you. It's like this many lights is going to be able to give you a beautiful spectrum, good growth, and kind of keep a little bit of everything. Personally, I prefer radions. I like the way that they look the best, and their intensity is higher than the hydras, but hydras will still do the job.
Yep.
Kind of SPS towards the top or middle, depending on the size of the tank. So first off is if you got a little bit less output lighting, know what you're going to have limitations on for keeping them.
Yep.
And then of course you have how hardy they are. And this is the most important thing when you first are running the tank. I'm going to put corals in there, is you've got to start with the easiest to keep, hardiest, can handle if your water fluctuates a little bit. You're not dosing yet, so your levels are a little bit bouncy. You know, you have nitrates a little bit higher, that kind of stuff. So you don't want to start with more sensitive corals because they're not going to adjust well. And, you know, there's a learning curve with the new tank on stability. Even with its cycle, there is ups and downs of how stable it is. So always start with the easiest corals, which are going to be soft corals. They're the downright easiest, can kind of handle almost anything for the most part. You know, and certain LPS are pretty hardy as well.
Yeah,
you can get going with.
I love easy corals. Even after all these years in this hobby, I gravitate towards the easy stuff. I think just because it's easier. I don't know how else to put it, but
yeah.
And they grow fast. You know, they do well under most conditions, etc. But there's always a point for a lot of hobbyists, if not most, where they get really successful at those like easier, moderate kind of corals, and then they want to go full SPS.
Yeah.
You know, but
start to dabble in that, and that's something that definitely has to come down the road. You know, you're not starting with SPS or real stonier type LPS either when you first start putting corals in. And usually for the first few months, I say stick with the easier stuff.
Yeah.
You know, especially if it's one of your first tanks or you're a little bit newer to the saltwater reef hobby, for sure.
Yep.
You're gonna have also, when you get corals, you want to consider how they grow. You know, do they encrust along the rock? Do they grow up taller? Do they like stake territory? Are they aggressive?
Right.
Like some corals, they just have like a noxious slime. So if they get in contact with other corals, it's going to irritate them and hurt them. Some actually have stingers, like little sweeper tentacles, that will sting anything in its area. So like knowing how it's going to grow gives you an idea of where to place it and what you can put around it as well.
Yeah.
You don't want that one new coral you put in there, put it too close to something, not realizing that it's got, you know, 4-inch sweeper tentacles that come out and
fighting for real
toasting
estate.
it. Yeah. So, you know, how it grows, its aggressive level is important as well for figuring out how to and where to place them in your aquarium.
Yep.
And what can be compatible. Like zoanthids have like a very noxious, you know, slime and sting or whatever, but together they're fine. You can just let them grow out together. But next to something else that can cause receding and a
That's
stony
one of the things
coral.
I like that you did on the Reef LX build is you actually put all the species of corals together.
Yeah.
Which kind of simplifies that whole
We're going to do an update on that soon, you guys will see, but like, yeah, there's like a war coral area because they have little super tentacles and they encrust. They got zoanthids, mushrooms, like they're kind of all grouped together. And we're going to do a little bit different in the INFINIA, but we're going to, for the INFINIA, I want to do no SPS. It's just going to be softies and LPS, something really flowy, a lot of movement. So that's kind of the goal with this one.
Nice.
Yeah. And then for, you know, one of the last things I'd say is like if there's any special feeding requirements.
Yeah.
And, you know, certain corals are heavy filter feeders, like gonioporas need a lot of spot feeding or they don't tend to do well. You've got like meat corals and brains and stuff that need big meaty chunks of food fed to them. Otherwise they'll kind of slowly recede. You know, you've got some where they're non-photosynthetic, like dendros and sun corals are super cool. But they don't
have to
eat off the light at all. They don't take any nutrition from the light or energy. So you have to spot feed them like constantly. And that is just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
They're very hard to keep, and especially in a new tank, you can't put that much constant food in there, that kind of stuff. So just know what it needs food-wise, if it's a liquid, if it's spot feeding, and that stuff for healthiness.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Early on, that's one thing that I missed.
Yes.
Was feeding corals. I didn't realize how important it can be, even if they are photosynthetic.
They are, because
still be very
you know,
important.
most corals are even photosynthetic, but they still have a food source that they need. Fish waste counts as part of it, but heavier feeders, they need more than that. You know, you've got a mysis, krill for some of your meatier stuff, you know, the liquid or powdered food for the ones that just filter feed. So, you know, gorgonians and sun corals and stuff like that need definitely specialized care. So don't start with those guys until you're ready.
Corals have got to eat too.
They do, and they're
Which is
going to
kinda
reward
weird.
you in a lot more growth. They're going to be healthier, more colorful, happier. You know, a coral that's not fed versus one that is, the difference is stunning in the amount of growth and just how
for
happy
sure.
and fluffy and stuff it is. So I think it is something that gets overlooked quite a bit.
Cool.
Yeah. So keep those things in mind when you're picking out your corals, placing them and stuff. I think we're going to go put some stuff in the INFINIA.
Let's do it.
All right, let's take a look. So you can see we have actually added 4 pink firefish into here since the last time that we've done an update. We started off with the foxface, 2 clowns, and an algae blenny. We added 4 firefish in here for a little bit more, kind of just slowly increasing the fish population. And now it's time for corals because it's beautiful, but it's just rock, so it is time. And I have all mine picked out, pulled them from some tanks around here, our Frag systems, kind of our holding coral. And I'm going to talk about them, get them placed around the aquarium. Where are you focused at?
Well, I'm everywhere.
Okay.
You put it right here in front of the. You'll
All
see
right.
it on the TV when you put it up.
All right. Ooh. Move this a little bit. All right. So we're talking about soft corals, some of your easiest. I'm going to place our leathers first. I'll show it to you here. So this one here is a like super bright green, like finger leather, cineraria. And this guy is going to grow very large. We've had him huge in some of our tanks before. And the green is super bright. It's going to add a lot of height and also color to the tank. Ooh, hold on. I need my glue. So my vision with this is kind of like soft encrusting corals along the bottom half of the rock. The top half of the rock is going to be taller stuff or like flowy LPS torches, that kind of stuff. So this guy's going to give some good height. Throw some glue on here. And he's going to fill in an open water area real nice. And they like a lot of flow, so I'm kind of putting them where that output of the return line is going to keep some good flow on them. With leathers, is they do have like a little slime that can build up on them. And if they're not in enough flow, it'll actually kind of choke them out, and you'll notice that they're not putting their polyps out or anything. So they do require good flow to be open and happy. So that guy's going to grow and like fill in this whole nice area here. Going along with leathers still. I love leathers. If you were watching last week, you got a little sneak peek into our 20-gallon leather tank.
Yeah.
The thing is awesome.
Do we have any other videos with that one that are, or is it?
No, but next week we're going to be showing all the tanks, so you're going to get a
Okay, cool.
nice insight. So this guy here is a toadstool type leather, and right now he's completely closed up with his polyps. But this one actually gets like super long and flowy polyps on it. It's really pretty when it opens. And you'll notice when you're get new corals or put them in, they are not showing themselves very well. They close up until they get in the tank and kind of adjust in. And for this one here, I'm gonna go on the other side for a nice leather. Now leathers filter feed. They're gonna feed off the light fish waste, but they also will take like zooplankton type diet liquid or powder. They do not have mouths big enough to actually like take any larger chunks of food, so they're not going to eat like chunks of mysis or anything. Now with the glue, you're going to have to hold it in place until it grabs enough bond. But I'm making sure that leathers go somewhere that there's going to be a good steady flow. And we will have power heads on here at some point too, usually on the side. So both these leathers are going to get hit with really good flow.
If you guys have any questions, make sure you post them below. We're gonna do a little Q&A here after we're done.
All right, one more leather going in. This is like a lettuce cabbage leather. And this one's pretty cool. It's super bright, but it's also got a very leafy, flat structure to it. And it just kind of ripples out. So here, I'm gonna put him kind of towards, let's see, somewhere with good flow. Let him go, like right up front. These are electric bright. Go. Usually if I'm gluing them, I put it against and then I kind of like rub a little bit to break up the little film that goes onto the glue and then hold it in place. That helps the glue adhere the coral or frag plug a bit better. There you go. That leaf shape kind of hanging off the edge will be really cool. All right, so we got 3 leathers we're going on for in here. And then I'm gonna do some mushrooms. And these are usually called like green hairy mushrooms or fuzzy mushrooms. They're shrunken down a bit, but they're about double to triple this size when they're fully open. And they have like a nice little long bright green little fuzzy parts on them. Very cool looking. Mushrooms are super easy. They can really go wherever you want. With the bright green, since green tends to be like the easiest color to find, I tend to try and spread it about so that it's not all concentrated in one area, because then you'll realize you just have this huge section of bright green coral. It's like interior decorating. I always try to like mix up the colors and stuff around where they are with each other. So him, and these will sprout little babies around the base of the big ones. And then those kind of move around and create larger ones, and they just will reproduce and cover the whole rock around them. And these actually do have a little mouth, so you could take small pieces of mysis or small pellets and actually put it on them, and they will eat them. And then you'll really get a lot more growth out of them. Some mushrooms will actually grow probably too fast for some people's tanks. There's ones that have like a really, really smooth appearance, and those guys tend to just grow like crazy. Another type of mushroom. It's right there. This one's just got some cool colors in it and like a colored rim. Just something a little bit different. Yeah. It's gonna place him wherever. And this one actually gets pretty large, about 3 to 4 times this size when he's fully open. Just grab the glue. So with mushrooms, definitely if you want them to grow faster, spot feeding will definitely help with that. And this is probably one of my favorites. So these are called yumas. And these are like super, super bright orange, a little bit of yellow and stuff in them. Yumas are harder to find. They are more expensive, but they come in brighter colors. And they have more of that kind of bubbly appearance to them. So, they're not as common, but their colors are super bright.
Those are super nice.
Yeah, I mean, these you can like see across the room when you have them in your tank. There's no denying that, they're one of the brightest types of corals that you can put. So that I'm going to make sure has a nice up front kind of spot to them. So I have to figure out the best way for the rock to sit. Try to make it kind of look natural where it sits. So right there. But yeah, the brightness of this orange is crazy. Wiggle it for the glue.
A lot of people are asking what coral glue or what glue you're using.
Ecotech coral glue. I like it because it comes in really big bottles, and it's a nice thick consistency, so it does not kind of like smear off the rock when you put it in. It stays in place. So I like this one a lot. And if you're, placing corals on tank, you're gonna need a big bottle. Getting those little tiny tubes of it, you can never get all of it out. You waste a ton of it. It's a little bit more runny. So I use the Ecotech all the time. So you can see that's gonna stand out no matter where you are in a room. All right. So all of these are like super easy. All right, I got a favorite for Rich here.
I can see it from here.
We've got branching green star polyps.
I think, we have that in just about every tank. We don't have it in the ORA tank, obviously.
We don't have it in the ORA tank, but everywhere else, I make sure that a piece goes in for Rich. And the one in the LX is crazy. It's like got so many branches. It's like this massive branching piece. It's absolutely beautiful. I like to put them where it's going to kind of like grow out and overhang because it's really neat jutting out from the rock. So I'm going to put this one, but also somewhere it has enough room to grow because it is green star polyps, no matter how you look at it.
Yep.
And green star polyps love to grow.
The cool thing about these, if you guys haven't seen these before, these are branching star polyps. So they kind of grow upwards, almost like a SPS coral or something. And what I like about that is they don't carpet over all the rocks. So like,
Not as much. They'll carve it a little bit for a
Yeah.
stable base, but for the most part, it's just big up and
Yeah.
out growth.
so it fills in the empty space without overtaking too much real estate.
Yeah, you definitely want to tune in next week because we're going to go through all the tanks and show a lot of stuff in them. And then we got some, they're closed right now, but it's kind of cool. This is how star polyps look when they're closed. It's just this mat, and their little polyps are tucked in there. So this is a bright green star polyp, just it's currently all tucked away. And this one is one that's going to grow fast and just about everywhere probably. So you usually got to be pretty smart where you want to put them. Because you don't want to put it right in the center of a rock and then suddenly that whole thing is overtaken. It overtakes your other corals. So I'm actually going to put them down in the back, kind of towards the bottom, and there's a big flat spot on the rock under the branching one. And that'll give him plenty of space to go ahead and grow wherever without taking up like center real estate. I love star polyps, but you gotta be real careful with how you place them. They will grow everywhere. And that'll give some nice bright color towards the back of the tank too.
Chris Jones is asking what the branching star polyp. Yeah, Chris, they are branching star polyps, so they actually grow upwards, which is pretty rare.
Yeah. Here's another one. This is a soft coral. These are daisy polyps. They're all tucked in, but each one has like a little head that looks like a flower. These are another one that grows really fast. So I'm actually going to put that on that back rock with the star polyps and let them kind of just have a big growing party back there. A big growing party. They can have that rock. They can just go for it. This way they'll kind of compete to each other and they're not really messing with any other. But it'll add some really nice like color and stuff to the back of it. So if those start to open up, we'll try and zoom in on them. But that's the thing with adding corals is you can never really fully see them while you're putting them in. All right. So that's all of our mushrooms and kind of like other encrusting softies. Next is going to be one of my favorite groups of coral, zoanthids and palytoas.
You're using what, a clear mini as a QT tank?
It is. It's a clear 6. So it's a little pull out. They're great for so much stuff. So these are a little bit open still. You can see a couple of them, but you can see zoanthids. They each have their own little polyp. They grow in a mat. And these are great because you can mix them all together as long as there's zoanthids together or palytoas together, and create like a little zoanthid garden. And that's what we did in the LX. But I'm going to kind of focus zoanthids and stuff on the bottom part of the tank. Now, zoos and pallies come in endless color varieties. So you could probably collect zoanthids and stuff for your entire life and still have ones with different color varieties. They should start to open up pretty quickly. Now they do have really, really small mouths, but in general they're going to filter feed. Sometimes they can take real small bits of food, but very, very small mouths. Let's see if I can keep this one open while I move it. So here's another type of zoanthid. This one's got a really nice green and purple color to it. You can see they've overgrown the whole frag plug off to the side, so it'll be moving to the rock really quickly. Put somewhere with a nice kind of green color. The clownfish is trying to bite me. I always want to place them somewhere that we know we're not going to have them kind of like overtake something that's a little, stop it, more sensitive. He's going to be a troublemaker.
Is the clown going after you?
Yeah, the clown's already going after me. He's gonna be, yeah. So I've got the glue on the bottom. Gonna let him fill in down here. One note for zoanthids and palytoas is they do have a toxic, toxic to them, it's toxic slime, whatever. If you touch them, A, wear gloves if you want. B, wash your
If you want.
You should. Wash your hands really well after. Do not touch your eyes, mouth, anything after you've touched them. They can definitely cause issue. So just be careful. Do not like throw them in the trash or anything, because if an animal gets to them, it actually can kill them. So just keep that in mind. So similar to the zoanthids is palytoas, and they're not open, but you can see how much bigger each polyp is. So palytoas are a large, they look a lot like zoanthids, but much larger. They tend to grow pretty fast as well. And these ones actually have a pink coloration to them, but their heads are much larger. Let me give this side some love. So. Down this rock.
Again, if you guys have questions, post them down below. We're going to try to take as many questions as we can here in just a little bit. We are giving away some swag at the end of the episode. The currency to win the swag is, first off, smashing the like button, subscribing to the channel, engaging with us in the comments.
All right, we got another palytoa. These are actually staying a little bit open. You can see these actually have a bright orange skirt, a little bit of a yellow mouth, kind of a purple base. And as they all open, it's a really nice, bright variety. I'm gonna add that down here to give a good splash of color. There we go. So that's all some really nice, easy, soft corals to go in. And we are gonna add 2 LPS that are easier in here. I said, like if you're first starting, first tank, whatever, you know, stick with the softies probably, and then kind of move to the LPS. But these are really easy ones in comparison. So we got a little Duncan frag. I love Duncans because they give a lot of movement, and they're so fun to feed. So and this guy's kind of been like sitting around on a frag rack, so I'm gonna get him into a tank, make him real happy. And you can feed each individual head, and they will reproduce and get super fluffy. And they'll eat chunks of mysis, chunks of krill, like they can eat some pretty decent sized pieces. And I'm gonna go along with the keeping everything on the top that has movement. So when this tank is all filled in, it's gonna be really nice and flowy looking along the top, and then the bottom will have lots of colors of mushrooms and zoanthids and stuff. So I'm gonna put them in a nice easy spot to feed them. And they'll just continue to branch and get bigger. The glue to stick. Stop eating my hand, clownfish. There we go. Nice top and center. And then one more. Nice LPS. So we're gonna put in a little hammer frag. So you got like hammers, torches, and frog spawns, or all euphyllia. They're you know, moderate to easier care for the LPS corals, and they give a lot of movement to a tank. I'm gonna put him over here. These guys you can actually also spot feed. It will increase their growth, because what they do is they take their skeleton and then they split to separate heads. So spot feeding will help the growth rate on these guys. Just back here. And they get taller as they go, so it'll fill in the water column really nicely. Here we go, right on the top. So stick with all kind of easier stuff. First round of coral. Whoa, watch it. Don't fall. It's always exciting when you get to add your first coral to your tank. Yay!
There you have it. Just like that.
Just like that. Got some color and stuff in there. And then it's just the same thing, just slowly sequence in fish and corals as you go, continuing to test your water. Usually at first, you're not gonna have to dose much for calcium and alkalinity, but as you start adding corals, you gotta keep an eye on that because it can start getting used up a lot faster. And that's why you wanna start with the easier stuff. Because you might not notice your alkalinity is dropping and stuff. You know, you want things that can be forgiving for a little bit of a fluctuation in those levels.
Yep. Awesome.
Awesome.
So again, you guys, we are giving away some swag here at the end of the episode, but here shortly we're going to take some questions. I did answer the question, but Paul was asking when some freshwater episodes are coming up. We actually are going to be releasing a freshwater specific YouTube channel, so we'll have plenty of freshwater content.
It's in the works, and we got videos to drop to that. We're working kind of continuously on some more freshwater, so definitely some good stuff coming. We have a really nice build we should be able to drop on there once it gets set up for the freshwater side. So stay tuned to that. I don't know when we think freshwater YouTube will be. Keenan? Shoulder shrugs. Soon.
Any day now. Any day now we'll have some content going up
We'll
there.
definitely let you know, and I'm sure we'll put posts about it and stuff on Instagram and Facebook. You know, make sure you're following us on all of those. So we'll definitely give you a heads up that it is active. It's coming.
So I want to remind you guys again, smash that like button, helps us out tremendously. It's also part of the currency to win one of these wonderful Waterbox shirts.
Comes in multiple colors, one of the most comfortable things you can probably ever wear. I love them. So like I said, one on YouTube, one on Facebook. It's got to be active. And I think they're pulling some questions. We'll work through that. Sure.
This one we keep getting, so I'm going to throw it out there.
Mark's asking, any idea when the larger aquariums are going to be in stock? I'm guessing talking Reef LX. Reef LX is looking probably in the next few months. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit. We did some modifications to it. In the meantime, we do have the INFINIA range, which goes all the way up to 6 feet. And it's a beautiful, beautiful system. It's a foot longer than the tank we were just looking at. So
yeah, that's the 5-foot INFINIA. So if you need something now, definitely look at the INFINIA. Beautiful, a lot of the same, you know, perks and stuff to it. It's just, you know, a little bit different design.
Jeff's asking, I hope in the future you guys have more color options in your cabinets, like dark espresso.
You never know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Depends on what the demand, I guess, is out there.
I mean, I say it all the time. We take your guys' opinions and ideas, and a lot of times it turns into products. So.
Yeah. And I have seen in our user group, so if you're not on it, Facebook, Waterbox official user group, is people have gotten whatever color cabinet and they've done like a vinyl wrap on it to match exactly what they need, because it's hard, because one person might want dark espresso, one might want light, one might want a dark oak. So like matching what everyone wants is very difficult. And I've seen some really nice vinyl wrap jobs that match their decor perfect and kind of personalize it. So that's definitely an option as well.
Barely read that. Are the overflow covers with the light mount notch still available? I can't find them on the website.
Yes, reach out to customer support if you don't see them, but they might just not be showing right now.
Yeah, I'll have them check into that, but they're available.
Okay.
My Waterbox Marine 60.2 just completed a 1-year anniversary, and I love the tank. Thanks, Waterbox. It's a mixed reef, mostly SPS with 8 fish.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yes, that's a really popular size. 60.2 is very popular. I love the footprint on it.
Yeah.
And with the sump system, you can fit all the nice equipment to do a SPS and kind of keep it up. So that's awesome. If you're not, you should definitely put some pictures in our user group.
Yep. Is the control center on the INFINIA movable like on the Reef LX? Can it be placed on the left or right side? No, on the Reef LX it is fixed in the position that we installed it in.
Yep.
Yeah, the INFINIA. Do you recommend buying a par tester before putting in corals?
I'm sure people will disagree. I in like, I don't know, 20, 25 years of doing this.
Yeah.
That ages me. But I've never once used a Parmeter.
Yeah.
Not once. I don't know if you have to be that exact with it for the most part. I mean, maybe a full SBS. You need to be able to know if your par's high enough for acros in this area. Maybe. I judge it by looks. You know, a lot of it's flow and stuff like that. They don't look happy. If their color changes, try another spot. I think it's just, it's a tinkering thing.
Yeah,
It's
if you want
definitely
a
can
toy,
be useful,
yeah,
but I've
yeah.
never ever used one, and I have really no intention to start testing
Yeah.
par to figure out where to put my
Yeah.
corals.
Yeah.
No
So-
videos on part meters coming.
No video on par meters
video.
is
If you
coming.
want to learn how to use a par meter, not coming from us, apparently.
I'll try it around, but
What's going on back there?
James is asking, so I have been told that you can put corals in a fish only. Is this true? If so, what would you recommend?
If you have lighting, I mean, if you're running a fish only that has intense lighting, or at least enough, you know, lower to medium high output light would work for soft corals. I mean, leathers and stuff like that, star polyps. You may not get great growth, but you know, you can probably have them survive in there. I mean, star polyps and daisy polyps and stuff will probably grow under the most minimal lighting.
Yeah.
But you also have to figure what fish you have and if they're going to eat it. So it really
True.
depends on your lighting and type of fish you have.
Thank you, James. Are leathers a beginner coral?
They are. They're finicky but forgiving. So like I was saying, if they're not in high enough flow, they're like little slime layer. They slough it off to keep themselves clean. So if they don't have enough flow, that can get stuck. And that's when your leather, like all the polyps stay in, starts to look kind of like shiny or like algae is building up on it. So it means there's generally not enough flow. You want to get somewhere with more flow. It helps them keep clean. Clean them up with like a toothbrush. Get that, kind of slough it off for them and clean them. And a lot of times they'll put their polyps out. You have to fix why they're not happy where they're at. And if water conditions are not perfect and they kind of fluctuate, they may not open all the time. But they generally aren't going to die on you. They may just not be as open until you kind of fix and keep things stable.
Yeah. Steve's asking, what lights are those?
Those are the Radion XR15 blues.
I think we have 30s on there.
Yep, that's 30s. Never
Yeah.
mind. Yep,
XR30 blues.
XR30 blues. We just put XR15 blues on the ORI tank last week.
Ah,
Yep. Man, if you can do it, Radions are the way to go.
Yeah.
Love the look of them.
Brian's asking, ever put a green star polyp directly on the back glass? I've seen people do that.
Yes, I've done it in tanks of my own in past time. It's awesome because you get this really nice bright green moving background. But Rich really likes clean backgrounds, so I don't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
he likes the rock to not touch as much and kind of the back glass to be clean. And it does give a really nice look to it.
Yeah.
But I've done it before and I've seen people do it, and it's very cool to have like live background. If you have an SBS tank, you can even do encrusting montes and like cyphastreas and stuff like that.
Is it possible to overload a tank with corals?
By bioload, no, but by space for sure. Because, so say you get a tank and you are buying frags and stuff, and you just cover all your area. Like there's no room for them to grow. You're gonna end up with a ton of warfare and territory and space and stuff. So you're gonna end up to where they're never really gonna grow out and thrive because you've just jam-packed them too
Yeah.
much together. So, but bioload, no, it's more space related.
Andrew's asking, how can you remove the glued coral?
It's not that strong. So usually you can put a thumb under it, you can kind of flick it up.
Yeah.
Worst case, get like a flathead screwdriver that's clean, or something similar, end of a like scraper stick or something, and just put some pressure and pop them up.
Yeah.
I think it's easier than epoxy to remove
sure,
the glue one.
yeah.
Epoxy tends to be very difficult to move between, and so I always put glue because you never know if they're gonna be happy. Suddenly a coral grows, you know, you need to move it, or they don't like the spot that you initially put them in. So you want to be able to move it easily, but still have it stable so it doesn't get knocked over.
Trina's asking, last time I saw a frag station, what's the reason for using a station versus gluing them in right away?
So a frag rack is good just to get them in and kind of adjust it until you decide where you want to put them, or if you need to move stuff around. A lot of times I say don't glue them right away. Kind of put them in a spot, see how they react in that spot. Give them a few days. If they open, seem happy, go ahead and put them down permanently. I kind of know where they're going to be fine at. So I glue them down, and like we were just talking about, if I do like, oh, that leather is just, he's not happy here, he hasn't opened, I just pop him up and can try a new spot.
Yeah.
But the worst thing I hate, especially because we're not here overnight or weekends, is if a coral falls
Yeah, they fall
onto
over.
another one or upside down in the sand, you know, it can damage them or kill the other coral. So I'd like to have things as stable as possible at all times. And the less I have to go pick up a coral off the sandbed, the better.
Rob's asking, when you have live rock, is it okay to glue corals down?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Glue it on glass, plastic, rock, whatever, doesn't matter.
Sorry, that's a Reef Lights question. Go on the Reef Lights.
All the tanks are great, but I've had my 130.4 for 2 years now. I love it. I just need a bigger one.
We can help you with that.
We certainly can.
Get an INFINIA.
Yeah. Having nyms with corals, do you recommend?
Well, yeah, but okay, it depends on what type. So bubble anemones are probably your most popular, and they are beautiful. They come in reds and bright greens and stuff like that, but they tend to move the most. If you get lucky, sometimes they'll find a spot and that's where they stay. But they also tend to split and grow, making more anemones loose into the aquarium. So if you put an anemone in, you gotta watch where it's going because they move. And if they go next to a coral, they're gonna sting it and kill it. So you're gonna have to move the coral. They also have some risk of going in power heads, which can really nuke a tank if you're not there to catch it. You know, things like long tentacles, sea bays, and carpet anemones tend to stay in place once they find a spot. And they usually like their foot in sand by rock, so you know they're at the bottom, and they kind of just stay placed. Bubbles love to travel on the rock all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's just with caution and kind of knowing what to expect and what you kind of have to do if it starts moving, it sits next to a coral and whatnot.
Cool. How much flow do you guys run with a Frag 105.4 MP40s?
We do. We have two MP40s. They're on pretty low speed just because of the
Yeah.
height of the tank, but we do have two. I always recommend, if you can get, for the Vortex, is to get two of them so that they can sync together and make better wave patterns. You know, and the glass is too thick for 10s, so you do have to go with the 40s.
Nathan's asking, have you ever considered putting up videos of just your tanks, maybe 30 minutes or so? You don't need to say anything, just let us see the tanks.
We should.
They don't want to
We
hear us
honestly
yapping.
should, yeah. Can y'all please stop talking and just record your tanks? No, we really should.
We've done it in the past. We did a live stream on one, I think on the Reef.
Live streams for just playing up tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to do that sometimes, just randomly pop up or just record them. We can kind of put just like equipment and everything about it so that people can kind of
Yeah.
see what we're doing. So
a good
we'll
idea.
definitely put that into the queue of things to do.
For sure. Zach's asking, basic mushrooms have taken over my rock. Best way to push them back? Trying INFINIA to possibly sting it back.
Oh man, yeah. So the little flat ones, the gray, they come in blue and all this stuff, and they will just grow like crazy. I have some in our 6-foot frags, and I'm like, oh, you're starting to go everywhere. So you have a few options. So yes, you can put a border of where stinging stuff are and kind of let them battle it. Doesn't always work best though, because if they kind of get up onto the stalk of your torch or frog spawn, they can start stinging the flesh underneath and cause it to reseed. If you've got the space, what I would do, and I do this with like star polyps and anything that kind of can overtake, is like, all right, they're coming towards the end of the space you want them to have, is take like rubble pieces, smaller pieces of rock, make like a border, and as they grow onto it, remove those and replace. And it's kind of like just keeping weeds trimmed,
Yeah.
basically. And now the problem with these flat mushrooms is they just pop off and they just go somewhere else in your tank. And if that's the case, you got to kill them,
Yeah.
honestly. Usually you can do, if they're really, really small babies, you can cover them in super glue. Or you can actually take like Aptasia killer, like the liquid Aptasia killer, and kind of cover them and put it into their mouth. It works similar as it would to kill Aptasia. But yeah, they can be problematic. They're pretty, but they will take over.
Yeah. Justin is asking, I know you are mostly saltwater today, but what's the best way to handle moving freshwater fish if you plan that completely rescape your tank with new substrate and scrub decorations?
With that is if you do have any kind of biological media in your filtration area, it'll either be like an all-in-one or a canister filter or whatever, you know, make sure to keep that wet. Don't, you know, rinse it in tap water. Like, keep that preserved. And, you know, just take them out of a bucket, do your thing, put them back in. You do have a chance of recycling fish. Freshwater fish are very hardy. So it does tend to not be as difficult on them for a tank to kind of go through a little bit of bumps. But, you know, have a good bacteria, do that, and just monitor the water. Live plants, if you're using them, do help with cycles and ammonia. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Good?
Good. All right. That's some good questions.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Put them out. Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right.
We're going to give away some stuff.
We do. We got some shirts. We got the winners.
Yes.
All right. Get ready.
Nathan on YouTube and Timothy on Facebook. Congratulations, you guys. Email winners@waterboxaquariums.com. They'll get you hooked up.
Awesome. All right. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I like putting corals in tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been looking at the INFINIA, and it's been up for like weeks. Finally, it's got some corals into it, a little bit more color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
It's
good.
going to be a beautiful system for sure.
Taking your time is never a bad thing. Like, we've let this one settle. We've put in 2 rounds of fish in. You know, just let it stabilize. As we always say, nothing happens fast.
Yep.
Nothing good happens fast in a saltwater tank. So
Sure, yep.
take your time, let it just cycle and, you know, stabilize and stuff like that. So we'll definitely be back on the INFINIA soon. But next week, we're going to do a studio tour. So we haven't done that in a while. We're going to show you all of our tanks, kind of zooming in, showing what's going on with them. We got freshwater, we got saltwater, we got frag tanks, we got a little bit of everything. So we're going to show you kind of how the studio's progressed. We're at like a year, coming up close to a year that we've been over here and doing the show here with tanks. So it'll give you a nice update to see all the cool stuff that we've got going on. So
Love it.
yes. So we will see you next week.
See you guys. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Remember, you can visit us online at waterboxaquariums.com.
We're live every Wednesday. Thanks for watching. See you next week.